We're back.
Têkkel Talk Show. Welcome, guys. I'm Heinrich Robertson. Welcome to my co-presenter, as always, on time, looking smooth. Alberich. Hoe gaat het in Kuilsrivier?
Nee, lekker, dankie Heini. But yeah, lekker intro. Do I really look that smooth? I don't know. My wife complains about the beard, but yeah. Who's dinge jou kant?
Always good. Super excited for tonight. But let's start off the show by thanking Marco Spomer, also better known as Tim van Zuidooster. Last week, what a show! Great guy, wonderful insight, and thanks so much for each and everyone who popped your question to Marco, and thanks to him for obviously gracing us with his presence, but more specifically, thanks to him for just opening up about being an actor, his involvement with the Justice Desk, and also just giving us some insight about who Marco Spomer really is. I really enjoyed the interview, Alberich.
No, exactly. And I mean, he actually, afterwards we spoke to him. He was really appreciative of the comments and the feedback he got. He actually thanked everyone that that watches Zuidooster and the support that they always get. And he appreciates that. So thanks, guys. Thanks for pitching in. Really love the show. In fact, we got a lot of comments that said it was a great show. And tonight's not going to be any different. We got a great guest lined up. And we got a lot to talk about. A lot of touch points we'll get onto. And I'm pretty excited. So, without further ado, we're going to bring in a man, a well-seasoned media man. He's been around for 2 decades. He doesn't look that far, though. But a great guy, well versed in his trade. And, let's just give it up for Gasant Abarder.
Hey guys, thanks for the very generous introduction there, Alberich. And I love the energy. You guys obviously didn't pass a whole day like I did. Ek like a bietjie foul.
No, there's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with you. What an honor, what a pleasure. And to all the viewers, I think it's for the first time, Alberich, we have someone so versatile, and we would lure into many discussions with Gasant. He's not only a former editor of a newspaper. He is a football fanatic. He knows his sport. He's also a football player himself. So we will venture into those discussions. What an honor, what a pleasure. And I think a legend on the show tonight. Mr. Volmer, what do you say?
No, for sure. I've worked with Gasant and know him for a while. And great old. We're speaking as if he's in Yemen.
I'm just enjoying all the praise. I'm loving it. I don't get it often, so I'm soaking it all up. Thanks, guys.
Gasant, listen, let's get straight into it, man. For those out there, a lot of people know you, and for those that don't know you, tell us more about Gasant. Who is Gasant? What does he do? What does he love? And what does he hate?
Okay, so I am a dad of 4. That's my first job. And I'm also a husband, so that's very important to me. And I also regard myself as a man of faith. I subscribe to my religious practices. It's Ramadan at the moment, so we're fasting. I've got 2 dogs and 3 cats. My cats are far smarter than the dogs, but the dogs are very lovable. And we live in a very interesting household because my in-laws are all Christian. My wife embraced Islam. So we have a very multicultural, multi-faith kind of upbringing for our kids. So we celebrate Easter, Christmas, the tree goes up. Eid Day, they spend here. So it's lovely, like a mixing pot of cultures, And I grew up in Mitchell's Plain and rode my BMX there when the Station Strangler was at large.
Yeah.
Despite the warnings from the teachers and the parents, I did that. We then had an opportunity when I was 10 to move to Woodstock. And Woodstock and Salt River is really where my heart is. It's where I grew up, met people like Desiree Ellis, her brother Basil gave me my first Manchester United kit in 1988. And I've been a fan ever since, as a 10-year-old. He gave me the home and away shirt. And I actually still regret the day of giving those away when they became too small for me, because I'm now a kit collector as well, football kit collector. As Heinrich mentioned, I'm a football fanatic. And he knows where my heart lies. 2 clubs actually. One is Manchester United. The other one is Orlando Pirates. The Orlando Pirates story is an interesting one, but we can get into all of that, but that's a basic kind of who I am. I've worked in media for 20 years. I now run media communications and PR for the University of the Western Cape. I am a freelance columnist, and I've just published a book.
Great, man. I'm just relieved that you did not come onto the Têkkel Talk Show with your Manchester United attire. We would have probably just had... Heinrich, what is this guy doing on your show with the United?
I've got it.
I'm a Liverpool supporter, but, we accommodate all of it.
Yeah. We love everybody.
Look, I have so many Man United shirts to choose from. I've got stuff dating back from the 80s, like I mentioned. I've got the Wembley shirts from the centenary anniversary. So I collect these things. Wow. I have to hide my purchases sometimes because my wife gets very annoyed with me. She says, "When are you going to grow up?" But I'm afraid I'm a bit of a... I have a few fetishes for watches, football boots, and football shirts. So she'll tell you many other things as well. Like my bicycle, when I buy a spare part for my bicycle or something or an accessory, I put it on before she sees it, That's my strategy, yeah. That's my wife, Leila. This year we'll be married for 14 years, and that's our kids. In the front row is my youngest, the middle one, my stoutste kind. Her name is Ariana. She's 3. Next to her is my daughter Kiara, who just turned 12. And then sitting next to me in the black, there's my prince, Ziad. He's 15. Yeah. Footballer of note. I had some interest from Kaizer Chiefs about him as a right back. And the one sitting next to him is my daughter, who also plays football. She's 8 years old. And so I'm busy trying to establish an under 8 and under 10 girls only league, because that doesn't exist at the moment.
Whoa. Great stuff.
Beautiful family, man. Beautiful family.
Love it.
Thanks, man. Thank you so much, guys.
I think
I get the geluk geslaan, hè?
We don't want to say anything. But your son, he's a Liverpool fan, right? I mean, he's big on Liverpool, am I right?
Oh, yeah. So my son's a Liverpool fan. 3 years ago, I spotted it on his WhatsApp status. My son is from my previous marriage, and so he had a Mo Salah picture on his status, and I'm like, what's going on here? And it's like finding out that your only son is a drug addict, or it's that bad, So I actually picked up the phone to his mom and I asked her, what is going on? What is he a Liverpool fan? And then he came out of the closet as a Liverpool fan. And I said to him, that's the last time Dad buys you any football stuff. You're on your own, brother. But as these things go, we all fathers. And as these things go, I've bought him the shirts, I've bought him the tracksuits. And what I enjoyed last year and the year before is to see the joy on his face when they won the Champions League. The year before, you guys missed out to City because you had a bad January, and then they just went on a streak. But then you guys won everything else in the space of about 18 months. And to just see the joy on his face, it reminded me of when I... Well, I think it's just a little blip. I think they're too good a team and too good a manager for this to be a permanent dip in form. Yeah. But I think with him seeing him like that and remembering when I was a 15-year-old and we were winning everything. United was dominating football all over. We had Fergie, we had trophies, we won everything. And I knew that feeling and I was just happy for him that he could enjoy the same kind of feeling and not wait 30 years, for something like that. And that's what I admire about some of the hardcore Liverpool fans. They stuck by their team, eh? Look, there was a time when you didn't see Owens wearing Liverpool shirts, eh?
Yeah.
Now you walk into any mall and it's full of. But the United fans were the same, and we used to give you guys hell, so we must take our L's now. That's the way football banter works,
Gasant, apart from having a very intelligent son who supports a very good soccer team, you've also had a stint in the media industry. You've got experience of over 20 years. Just share with us and the viewers the importance of having an independent media industry in a country. What role does that play?
Look, I've worked at various places, some less independent, if I can maybe say it like that, than others. Others fiercely independent. So I've worked in TV, radio, and print. And it's important for us. I had this debate today. Do people pay for news behind paywalls? And 60% of them on this Twitter poll, which we need to take with a pinch of salt because it's hardly scientific, but they were saying that they wouldn't pay. And my thinking behind that is if you want quality journalism, you need to pay for your news like everything else, The difference between citizen journalism and journalism created by a professional is that we abide by a press code. We can be held to account for what we write. But if you're getting your news of WhatsApp and Facebook, there's no guarantee that it's credible. Most of the time it's fake. So at least if it comes from a credible source, you know that it's news you can trust. Yes, there are agendas in the media. You can't tell me, we can't be naive and say, listen here, the news is objective, because it's not. Everybody writes news with a slant and a specific stance. But it's for the reader to discern. We arm you with information and you make a decision. And that's very important. And this is the reason why I enjoy writing my columns, because I can make opinions based on fact. However, they need to be based on fact. It can't be a thumbsuck. That is what the rules say, the press rules. So it's important to have an independent, robust media. I don't think what's happening to Jacob Zuma would have happened if we didn't have a robust media, And it starts right from the Gupta plane landing to the tax issues in Kandla. It was all exposed by the media. So I always laugh when I see somebody tweeting, why isn't the media reporting on this? But he saw it from a media tweet. Do you know what I mean? So where the news doesn't fall out of the sky, it costs. It's manpower. It costs money. It costs resources. Alberic knows he's worked for a media agency. There's a lot that goes into campaigns and advocacy journalism and journalism with purpose, And that was probably my favorite part of it. Towards the end of my career as the Argus editor, we did a lot of advocacy journalism that's contained in my book, Hack with a Grenade. It was launched in December. And it covers the adventures I had with my good friend, Lance Witten. We gave students involved in Fees Must Fall the opportunity to edit an edition of the Cape Argus. They didn't. There's the cover of the book of me looking. I think I have a bit more hair in that picture, in that drawing, than I actually have. But you'll see on the cover there's a few Easter eggs here and there of some of the things in the book. So it's inspired by Mad Magazine. The cover, it was done by my nephew, and the cover design was done by my brother. But the idea is that in the latter stages of my career, I wanted to get to the stories that matter to people, because as a newspaper, you can't break stories anymore. Twitter is going to get there every time. All you're going to be doing is you're going to be telling yesterday's story. So now you need to change the narrative. So we gave homeless people a voice. We had a homeless columnist called Danny Oosthuizen in the Dignity Project. We gave students their own paper. We didn't tell them what to put in the headlines, in the pictures, and the captions. It was their paper. I could have been fired. Luckily, they were mature to use it responsibly, the platform. And so we did exciting things, and most of the time my partner in crime on these misadventures was one Mr. Lance Witten, who I hold in very high regard. He's a brilliant storyteller on any platform. I mean, you've seen him on TV, he operates in newsrooms, he's been on the radio, and he's also quite a footballer. If he tackles you, you know you've been tackled. You stay down. That picture over there is
Lance there?
Lance is there. He's in the back row. You can see him. I don't know if I'm.
Yeah, I see him.
Yes,
I see him
from the left. The first guy on the left at the back. Yeah.
Oh,
my son is next. My son is next to me there in front of the behind the football. So a little bit of history about this club. There's a couple of guys in this club who are the original members of a club called Woodstock Wanderers. That's where I grew up. It was formed in 1996. So you'll see there's a guy there with sunglasses at the back who looks older than the other guys.
Yes.
And third from the right, there's a guy with glasses standing a little bit further behind. They are the founding members of the club, and it was their idea. I was 19 at the time and studying, and they didn't like the idea that the kids were standing on the corners of Woodstock, right? They were either getting involved in gangs or drugs. So they decided, let's do something constructive. Let's start a football club. And they paid for everything. They bought us kits. They organized jobs for the guys who didn't have jobs. We started doing charity work. We got registered into a Sunday league. And then 2 years ago, or just after lockdown started, actually, I couldn't play soccer because I was playing over 40s football for Kaapstad. And I had left FC Kaapstad with the intention of joining another club like Wynberg St. John's that was closer. And then football stopped. And I was itching, I wanted to get out there. Anybody who plays football will tell you, if staying without it for a long time, it really gets to you. So I connected with all the guys, and then we decided we're going to start small with fives, and then as we grow, we'll eventually have 11v11 juniors and seniors. But the whole ethos is the same. It's about helping youth at risk. It's my passion project. None of the guys wearing those tracksuits paid for those tracksuits. We had them made for them, and we had fundraisers because we didn't want anybody to feel left out. And the guy who made it is a businessman from Woodstock. So the story completes itself. It's a guy. His company Sports Gear. His name is Zahir. I forget his surname, but he's close to the biscuit mill there, and black businessman making incredible football kits and apparel,
Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah,
Great story. It's a great story. We'll touch. There's a few comments coming through. We'll get to it in a second. Just quickly, you mentioned UWC. You at the University of the Western Cape. You were managing the marketing,
media and comms.
Comms team. Yeah. I'd say historical university. It's got a deep, rich history, especially in the apartheid years. Your role there now. How do you envisage the university going forward? Post next, or in fact, the next 10 years, 20 years. What is your vision for the university?
So last year was quite a catalytic year. It forced us to do things differently. So I believe the university of the future, be it UWC or UCT or WITS, is going to look very different. And I think by default, because everything is being done online. So we haven't had a physical lecture since March last year. Everything's been online. And we've had a participation rate at UWC of 94%.
Wow.
Now think about that. That's higher than when the students are actually there, because half of them are playing dominoes in the... You know the story if you've been to UW's. Dominoes and Claverjas, that's the game, you know. But in all seriousness, I think the brick and mortar style university, and it's unfortunate what's happened to UCT this week. It's a tragedy, really. Like, such an important institution in our society for the fire damage, you know. But I think universities are going to move away from the brick and mortar stuff, and it's going to become more online and more accessible, and by virtue, more cheaper for anybody to enroll at a university. If you look at the countries like in China, communist country, it's compulsory to go to university. You don't have a choice. Either you go to university or you go to military. And that's actually where we should be at, you know. And they don't pay fees there. So the 9 billion rands that they're giving to SAA or to those other institutions that are just losing money all the time should be plowed into education, you know?
Yeah.
Because how do you improve the lives of South Africans? First, by educating them and giving them jobs, because jobs give people dignity, you know, and it opens up opportunities.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, I wanted to say it's a university who've produced so much catalyst for change in society. Looking at the doctors and the advocates that came out of the institution, you are probably chuffed now to see the vast amount of talent in your Varsity Cup rugby side as well. We are nailed to our television, and actually, I am pleasantly surprised to see the young boys being so talented, beating the big universities, but also, most importantly, some of these guys got the credentials to go and play at the professional level for any of the unions in South Africa, and that products of UWC.
Yeah, I was going to touch on sport a bit. So at UWC, so I feel like it's a big privilege for me to be able to work at a place that doesn't have the baggage that other university has with apartheid. First of all, so sport, it was very much the SACOS ethos at UWC. No normal sport in an abnormal society. And the residences used soccer and rugby as their meeting places for activism against the police and the security police and against apartheid. So it's a very powerful legacy, you know. But now that we're in a democracy, obviously we're looking forward. We remember our past, but we have to look forward. So we're building on refurbishing our stadium now because it's empty, it's convenient. We're installing a IAAF, or I think it's called something else now. It's not IAAF anymore, eh? You know, the International Athletics Federation.
Yeah.
You're going to put it on that specification.
Yes, correct, so that we can host international events. The pitch that's been laid down is to PSL standards. We've already hosted a first division match at UWC. And then my pet project is the under 8 and under 10 girls football team league. And because there's no junior football for girls in South Africa. And UWC is like a conveyor belt at the moment for Banyana. We've got about 20 players playing all over the world at colleges. We've got players like Tembi Kgatlana, who plays in the Women's Champions League. There's Jermaine Sipaswena. So it's our niche is actually football, if you think about it.
Wow,
but we're competing in rugby. We're the first black university to compete in Varsity Cup. And hopefully we can stay there. It's tough. All of those teams are strong. All of them, without exception. It's a step down from Currie Cup. It is quality rugby. And what I like about the competition is that it encourages running rugby, you know. The 7-pointer try, for example. It encourages the players to have ball in hand. So you've got a player like Damian Willems's brother, Dylan, who played in our Varsity Cup team last year. And he was just blowing away the competition, in terms of performances. And then sometimes it's unfortunate though, because we don't have the depth that the other universities have. So we lose a player like Kurt Lee Arendse quite early in the season in 2019 to the sevens. Obviously, South Africa needs him. He needs to go and play sevens. And he was a superstar.
Western Province needs him.
He's a superstar. So publicly, I remember the late Chester Williams being very happy for Kurt Lee. And to me, it's a yes, but we need no mark. We've just lost Kurt now. And it's obvious for a coach, he cares, But I must say, with the new coach, Paul True, he's a different personality. He's quite a serious guy. But you can tell that there's discipline in the team. He's got the respect of the players. He knows exactly what he's doing. It's a process for us, We're a university that's 60 years old, who in the past couldn't participate in the highest level of rugby. That 60 years was our anniversary last year. Proudly UWs. And, it's a process of getting there. We're learning from our mistakes. Sometimes we give it away carelessly in the second half in particular. We get a bit cocky, we get a bit overconfident. But I think that's why Paul True's there. I think he's a guy that understands what it takes to win,
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
for sure.
I think that brings back to that proud history that UWC has, and it's great to see. I mean, we've been since the start of Varsity Cup. I think they played the second division, and to see them go up into
Shield, yeah.
Yes, and see them up in the top level, it's good to see, man. And we're pretty excited, man. But because I'm going to go through a few comments quickly. There's quite a few guys coming through, and we'll get to the soccer because one of the owns are definitely coming through for your team. Heidi Wenzel, clearly he's a glory Man United fan. And one more comment here with regards to
no comment on the Klaver just here. So this guy probably knows the game very well.
Yeah, no, clearly.
But to be honest with you,
ashamed about it.
to be honest with you, the Klaver just, I'm worried a bit about it because the Klaver just is dying down a bit. And I hope it's not something that we're going to lose in our communities, man. Yeah. Because the dominoes is the big game. But you can't play dominoes at UWC without banging that dumb hard, like, quah. Otherwise, it's not. It just doesn't work. So if you walk into the student center, that's what you hear. That's the soundtrack. Everybody's playing dominoes,
And
I miss it because we've been off campus since last March,
Yeah.
And everything's been online, and it'll probably be that way for a while still.
Yeah, for sure. We have another comment here from Ferdo Teran. He's probably wanting your tips. With football, how is your FBL season coming along? Any tips for captaincy this weekend?
I don't play fantasy Premier League football because I suffer from anxiety and depression, and I think that will push me. In all seriousness, it will push me over the edge. But what I do play though is the Man United app's got a little game where you can pick the squad, predict squad, predict the score, and all of that, and they give you points. But I think for me, the team that impressed me the most this weekend was Leeds United. They are such an exciting team to watch. They remind me of the old Brazil that, we'll just score more goals than you. But we won't stop. I mean, they're busy losing, but they're still coming for you.
They still attacking.
You've been in a football match. So when it comes to captains, maybe Bamford, I'm a big fan of Jesse Lingard at the moment. Not only because he's turned his career around, but he's been through mental health issues, and he sparked a revival in West Ham. They in the top 4, if I'm not mistaken, or just outside. And I would make a guy like that captain. Look at Bruno Fernandes coming to Man United. Immediately the fortune started changing. Same thing with Jesse Lingard. He overcame a lot of mental health issues, and he's finally broken the silence. And it helps other people, and it's the reason I do it as well, publicly. I talk about it because to destigmatize so that other people who have problems don't feel embarrassed to come forward. I believe a lot of the gender-based violence we're experiencing in South Africa at the moment is linked to mental health conditions. It's not an excuse, though, to murder or abuse or assault your partner, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
At all.
No, for sure.
Yeah.
No, but I
So no
agree
fantasy
with you.
league, no fantasy football league, but Cantona would definitely be in our team.
Sorry, Annie, we're gonna.
Let's just briefly touch. Seeing that we are on football, this week we had this shock about the English Premier League and some of the top clubs wanting to join what they call a European Super League, and we had the fans, the sponsors, everyone joining the dialogue. We all know it's all about finances, and clubs have been majorly affected by COVID-19, which obviously had a detrimental effect on some of the finances and the transfer capabilities of players moving to and from these clubs. Your opinion, about this, let's call it a prospective league or whether it's a fictional league, it seems real. What is Gasant Abarder's opinion about the European Super League?
So the rumors started about 2 years ago. I thought it was a joke, and I still do. I call it the European Stupid League. The thing about football and the legacy of football, especially, look, we grew up watching the English game, right? We didn't have access to watching Cape Town Spurs or Kaizer Chiefs until much later, until we were much older. And the games that excite me about football is the possibility of an underdog beating a giant, like MK Dons beating Man United 4-0 in the League Cup. I think it was a League Cup match. And those are those magical games, that makes football I think it was Leeds the other day that beat City. Or Leicester winning the Premiership. Now, Leicester's never going to make that European Super League, but they won the Premiership. So the idea is it's killing the sport in the sense that it's teaching footballers, actually, I have to be in one of these elite clubs now to be seen. And it's just wrong. It's anti-football, it's greed involved. I am so happy that Ed Woodward, or as I call him, Dead Woodwork, is out of Manchester United now. It was all about the money. And the difference between Liverpool and Man United at the moment is Liverpool's invested money back into football. It's less about, the commercial interests and the money. Yeah, sure, they need to make money, but they've invested in football. They've given a coach 5 years to be successful, gave him the budgets to buy the players he wants. And I'll tell you, they were very unlucky. I'm a Man United fan, and I'll probably get killed now by the comments. But when they lost Virgil van Dijk in that unfortunate tackle, which should have been a penalty and a red card in my book, it was just a horrible tackle. That was the turning point for Liverpool for the season. I'll tell you why. Virgil van Dijk is like two players on the field. He gives Trent Alexander-Arnold and Andy Robertson on the other fullback side, the freedom to move up front. And if a team wants to break, he's there. He commands that defense and he gives players the freedom to push forward. So playing in, I was disappointed in Klopp's tactics this season. Like, he ran out of ideas, and playing your captain in centre back was wrong as well, because whenever Henderson gets the ball, his natural instinct is to move the ball quickly and to move it forward through the transition. So I think it was an unfortunate loss, but that's what happens to clubs. You can't complain about injuries. That happens to everybody. What I like about Man United is I'm on the edge of my seat every time I watch. You never know what team is going to walk out of that tunnel, you know. And
So based on that, there you are with your Man United chef. Based on that,
Chevrolet, yeah.
Let's ask Gasant Abarder, are you Ollie out or are you an Ollie in guy? And why?
Look, I'm kind of ambivalent. I'm in two minds. I'll tell you why.
No, you can't be. You need to round.
No.
On Têkkel Talk Show, you make up your mind tonight.
Okay.
You need to make the score.
Okay, then let me say I'm not Ole out. I think he got the best out of players. He's kind of learning on the job in my view, because the kind of in-game management is sometimes very, very puzzling, you know, the decisions he makes. For a guy who played on the subs bench, he makes some terrible substitutions at terrible times, you know. But I'm not Ole out, but I do think there's a limit to where he can take the club. And you would need a Pep Guardiola or a Jurgen Klopp. I'm not saying he's terrible, but you need a coach of that quality to start winning trophies again. I think he's going to take them so far, and what he's done has been incredible. He's a great man manager. He brings the best out of players. You can see it's a happy environment. Even Paul Pogba is coming to the party, and that's a very dangerous combination in that midfield, eh? Paul Pogba. But I have criticisms about Ole's tactics, playing Pogba wide. When he plays for France as a central attacking midfielder, that's the best Paul Pogba you're going to see.
Fully
agree. For some reason at Man United, he doesn't play there.
There's a reason for that, though. I think Ole is afraid to obviously openly show that Paul Pogba and Bruno Fernandes should actually compete for the same position. If he slightly changes his formation, the two of them should actually be. They can play in tandem, but the personas of those two players, I believe, should actually compete in a Man United setup. But each and every one obviously have their own opinion about that.
But I have a slightly different view about the formation, and now we're getting very technical. But I think there are matches where we don't need two central defensive midfielders. I think we should have 5 defensive players and as many attacking players as you can put on there, because that's our strength. If you get Rashford on the break and he's clear one-on-one with the goalkeeper, he's going to score a goal. He makes some terrible decisions, though, as a player. But he's young and he'll learn. Mason Greenwood is just a phenomenal young talent. He's got a sweet left foot. He's got a sweeter right foot. He's scoring goals at the moment. Edison Cavani, what can I say? Everybody laughed. You guys laughed when we signed him, all the Liverpool fans. But he's shown the quality. No, he's shown his quality. If you watch Man United games,
in the absence of no one else, he can work.
His movement in the box, he's scoring goals regularly. He's the 3rd highest goal scorer in Europe, just after Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo. So that must mean something. I'm hoping we can keep him for another season, because we don't have an out-and-out striker that's going to give you 20, 30 goals a season. Bruno Fernandes is our top goal scorer, which is a bit of a worry. But Man United's been like that. The goals have come from everywhere, all over. Steve Bruce used to score our goals in the Fergie time and that kind of thing. So,
great.
Yeah.
I'm going to run through a few comments quickly. Clayton, I think you put Arsenal and Tottenham in the same sentence as Big Six. I gaan 'n paar manne. I gaan steer kry.
My friend John Goliath will be very upset with that comment. But I'm very glad. I'm very happy for Tottenham having gotten rid of Jose Mourinho, and I'll tell you why. I think his time at Man United was very destructive, more so than even David Moyes and Van Gaal, because you have a player that's in his prime, Juan Mata, who happens to be one of my favorite footballers, who I admire the most. His intelligence, the way he can unlock defense, his unselfishness, and his technical skills. So you take a player like that, who was player of the season on 2 occasions at Chelsea, won a Champions League, bring him to Man United, and because you don't like him, you don't play him. And the guy's nowhere now, you know? And the thing is, he's done the same with Bale, with Gareth Bale. And we see Gareth Bale, I don't know if you saw the Tottenham game on Sunday. Gareth Bale was doing the business, you know?
He's doing the same. He did the same with Dele Alli.
Same thing with Dele Alli. Quality player. And players lose confidence because they're wondering now, why am I being excluded from the side? Because you don't like me. And that's the problem. Jose Mourinho put himself first before the club. And that's wrong. Arsenal, I think, has always had problems with their owners. They just don't buy the right players. They very what is that word, man? Hulle sug om players te koop. Yeah, no, they're very short-sighted in getting the right team. So if you look at that Arsenal Invincibles team, right? Then they should be in that top 6. I mean, we're talking about Thierry Henry, Dennis Bergkamp, Vieira. It was an incredible Fabregas. They were stars. I mean, whenever there was a Man United Arsenal game, you knew there was going to be fireworks. Everything was left out there on the pitch. I think the coaches, the manager is a good manager. Like Ole, not quite the final product yet, but getting there. Unfortunately, he doesn't have the right personnel, and that's the problem. Yeah. So I do think their legacy makes them top 6, you know. But then you can argue, what about Leicester? What about West Ham? You know, so if top 6 goes to a Super League, then does it mean that a team finishing second in the league is inferior to a team with a reputation but finishes 8th? You know, it makes no sense. And it kills, like I said, kills sport. It kills football.
You mentioned that, and I think that's a major point, is the fact it kills the spirit of the game. Even any neutral, if you want to put a neutral fan in front of a game, they'll probably 10 to 1 back the underdog, in those kind of situations. So I definitely agree with that. But let's bring it back home for a second, and that's problems that's happening in Europe. On our cricket fields, we have some major issues at the moment, within CSA, in the boardroom, on the field as well. What's your opinion on making things that? How do we make it right? To put it simply.
Yeah. So I think the domestic cricket is the beginning of the problem. Is the start of the problem. If you look at the Sheffield Shield played in Australia, that's their domestic version of our 4-day series, our first-class games. They fill stadiums. Okay, we can't have anybody in our stadiums at the moment because of COVID, but we were hardly filling stadiums before then.
Yeah.
If there were 3 guys sitting at the Oaks, it was a lot of people at Newlands, to come watch 4-day cricket. So there isn't an investment in that. I do believe, though, that there are players coming through, that there's a pipeline created by people like Vincent Barnes, Shukri Conrad, who are producing quality players, but they're being overlooked and they're slipping through the cracks for some reason. So, again, CSA is a mess because they can't secure contracts for players, and we lose players to the IPL. A player thinks nothing of leaving the national squad to go play 6 weeks in the IPL. And why not? I would do it. If I was getting 6 million rand for 6 weeks of cricket, I'm gone. You know what I'm saying? So the thing is, do we commercialize cricket even more? Or is it about the player playing for the badge? And I saw that there was commentary on AB de Villiers the other day, and can we flip this a little bit? I want to hear from you guys. Would you take AB de Villiers back into the Proteas team, considering that there will be a T20 World Championship coming up?
You go first.
Yeah, My answer, and I'm feeling much honored. I'm being interviewed on Têkkel Talk Show.
Welcome to Tekkel.
Yeah, listen, man. AB de Villiers is a brilliant cricket player. He's probably one of the best cricket players that I've witnessed on screen. I've seen the guy hit a few centuries live. In principle, I would not select him for South Africa. AB retired. He decided to venture into the IPL scene, and as much as we need AB de Villiers to perhaps swing the ship, I would not select AB to play national cricket. I'll rather go with the team losing than create a principle that you decide when to play and when to be selected. That is just my opinion. We've seen AB hitting a lot of very quick runs in the IPL. He would perhaps fill that void, but for me, it's a no. Your opinion, Gasant?
Look, I'm with you.
Before we get to Gasant.
Okay. Let's hear from Albarik.
Yeah, before you get started, Gasant, in fact, I'm both ways, possibly.
No.
You need to make a decision.
I was told I can't.
Okay, I'll tell you why. On principle, I agree with Heini. There's a young players coming through. There's the Varains, there's the Malans brothers coming through. These young
They're not being picked, though.
They're not being picked for some reason. They're not being picked. Yes, for somebody, and whether it's politics or whatever the issue may be.
There's a Titans bias, perhaps, with a coach. Let's talk about it.
Exactly. So these guys need to. They've shown they can play on that level, and they should be given a chance. What message do we push out to the younger generation coming in future? Do we still go back to the old days? I'm against, and as ons rugby praat, gaan ek sê nie Morne stay nie. I think there's a lot of talk about Morne staying playing for the Boks. I'm totally against that. There's an era and there's a certain spot for everything, and I'll probably sway towards Heini. But listen, I give you the opportunity to sway me back to your side, whatever side you choose.
So before I go to AB de Villiers, let me address that earlier question about what's wrong with cricket. I think the ICC is the big problem here because we're not getting the opportunity to play against quality opposition because of this big three. It's like the European Super League of cricket. So it's India, Australia, and England, and they get to call the shots. Australia won't tour, England won't tour South Africa. Australia won't tour South Africa, but they're happy to go to India, which has a higher infection rate than us at the moment. So, how does that make sense, So that's the first problem. CSA needs to grow a pair, and they need to stand up to the ICC. That's the first thing. Our players are not being exposed to high-quality opposition. We need to see them playing against Australia. But then we need to get our house in order as well, because Cricket SA is a mess at the moment. It's a hot mess. And maybe it's a good thing that the minister's taken over the kind of running of the thing so that we can get our house in order again. On the AB de Villiers issue, I feel very differently. I would roll the red carpet out for this guy and say, please, come and play. I'll tell you why. AB de Villiers is a Lionel Messi or a Cristiano Ronaldo of cricket.
Yeah.
Would you leave Messi out of your Barca team? The answer is no. Would you leave him out of Juventus? Would you leave Cristiano Ronaldo out of Juventus? I wanted Ronaldo back at Man United. I mean, come on. So the thing is, AB retired, fair enough. He played IPL, but so have many other players. He didn't go Kolpak, which is a different story altogether. And that is when it's 6 of one and half a dozen of the other. But he didn't retire, and he did open the door a few years ago, just before the World Cup, where he said he's available for selection. He had a conversation with Faf. Faf took a principal stand. I've got a lot of time for that guy, by the way, and I think his retirement from cricket is unfortunate at this time. Is he still playing the short format? He's not playing anything yet.
No, not always. It's all international cricket,
So he scored a good 95 yesterday. Brilliant knock.
But that's the thing. I mean, we need that mix of experience. He was a very clever captain.
Yeah.
He was brave. He, and for me, that's a tragedy losing a player like him. But at the same time, I can't understand what does Kyle Verheyen need to do to get a regular spot in the Proteas side. And it's created a bit of friction between Mark Boucher and Ashwell Prince, for example, which is unfortunate, because the thing is, they were colleagues, they were teammates, they're also colleagues as coaches, and you'd think that the coach of the Cobras would have the best interests of South African cricket at heart. But the guy that should have the interests at heart the most is the coach. And I think he's not mature enough for the role, in all honesty. But the biggest problem is he's not qualified for the role. How did he get it, And I wrote a column about this, about the myth of meritocracy. It's a lie, If that was a black coach losing 2 series against Pakistan at home, they'd be calling for his head, the cricket writers, He'd be out in a jiffy. But this guy has fanboys in the cricket, the sports writer fraternities. So I don't understand it. I can say whatever I like because he's blocked me. He blocked me, and then Shane Warne blocked me, and then Kevin Peterson blocked me on Twitter, because I said before he was appointed that he shouldn't be there because he's not qualified. He was on a level 2. He needs to have a level 4. And the column that was written by John Goliath for SA Cricket Magazine. He was the first journalist to raise the point. Why is this even being entertained? I mean, there are people there with far more experience and qualifications. It was also an attitude thing for me that really put me off, because he didn't want to go to the coaching workshops. I mean, that just shows arrogance, and like a disrespect for the game. And we're being beaten by a decent, very good Pakistan team.
Yeah.
But at the same time, this is our home ground on the Wanderers, where we should be knocking off heads of Pakistan batsmen.
Yeah.
And we're just throwing pies out there, and they're hitting us all over the park,
I told you, Alberic, half an hour is going to be far too little to speak to a guy like Gasant. Just the vast knowledge, and we're sitting here on our own show, just listening to this amount of knowledge and experience from I would say a legend in the media industry. We are running out of time, Gasant. Before we go, your last message, inspirational message to the youngsters out there, perhaps to those affected by COVID-19, perhaps those people watching the show and listening to you, but they are slightly hopeless at home. What would your message be to our viewers out there?
Just know that you can have matric and you can be the leader of the official opposition in this country. No, I'm joking. I'm just making light of a serious situation. But what I really want to say to everybody watching this is, we always say, one day I'm going to do this. How about saying, today is day one of what I'm going to do? So we need to constantly remind ourselves and reinvent ourselves, because the world's changing before our very eyes, So I've given myself a target that in 10 years' time, I'm 43 now, I'm retiring in 10 years' time. But it's not a retirement, it will be a rewirement, where I'm going to be the media owner of a boutique media agency, consultancy, specializing in strategic media comms and reputation management. And hopefully by then, I want to have a few books under my belt. I'm doing an MA in creative writing, inshallah, if all goes to plan. But so what I'm saying to people is, don't wait. Do it now, If you've got that dream, don't put it off. I know of people making pickles during COVID that have lost their full-time jobs, that have turned it into businesses that are now earning more money than the salaries they used to get. So just believe in yourself and say today is day one. Don't say one day I'll do this. That's
Yes,
what
right, right.
That's awesome. Gasant, look, I mean, yeah, it goes without saying. I mean, we've in years.
Yeah.
Oh, here we go. Gasant, look, it goes without saying. I mean, I've known you for a while, but I mean, what a great, batch of knowledge that you have, and it's good to tap into it, man. For us, it's a joyless seeing you on Twitter, and giving it that nuggets of info that
Spending too much time there.
But it's good. Look, it's good, and those hard topics need to be spoken about. Those hard subjects need to be brought up, and that's what we respect. That's what we respect about you.
Let's go to Let's go to no. Let's go to Rack and Grill tomorrow, and let's go smash some burgers.
Let's do
Rack
it.
and Grill.
Let's do it.
I'm there tomorrow. I'm gonna go break my fast, and I'm inviting everybody to come. We're gonna smash burgers.
Great.
Smash burgers at Rack and Grill. Rack and Grill.
We're gonna check you there.
we see all the comments. I see all the Man United supporters. They are all on the show tonight. Gasant Abarder, legendary media personality, huge Man United supporter, giving us some insight as well into his love for the Proteas, or let's call it a love-hate relationship with the Proteas at this stage. But Gasant, thanks so much for gracing us with your presence. We've gone over time, but I think it's been worth a while, and I've really learned a lot during this interview. It's really good to have you on our show. Thanks so much.
Cheers. Thanks. I enjoyed it so much. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, Barry, and thanks so much to you as well. Guys, at Têkkel Chat, on YouTube, on Facebook, on Twitter. Thanks so much for watching. Keep those comments coming. Gasant Abarder. As jullie nie weet waar nie, at Tekkel Chat. Until next time, guys. Cheers.